Good morning and congratulations to Elon Musk for finally landing a birdie and Melinda Gates for landing $1.8 billion in Microsoft shares. Boston Fed head Eric Rosengren tried to soften a bit Janet Yellen's taxes inflation comments the day before, saying that accelerating inflation in the spring is only temporary. U.S. markets recovered oh so slightly, the Nasdaq and Russell continuing to fall. Energy banks and other traditional companies propped up the S&P, while mega-cap tech stocks drew the Nasdaq down. With a one-tick increase in mortgage rates, applications contracted by less than 1% this past week after plunging 2.5% the week before. We're seeing a vast improvement in April service and composite PMIs, and ISM non-manufacturing markers are mixed. We're down on orders and the purchasing activities, up on price and employment, which seems to be seeing a 7-month record in private payrolls. The new U.S. securities regulator, Gary Gensler, is reportedly considering scrutiny of investors with large short position holdings and derivative hounds. This after the GameStop and Archegos gambits, which have upset markets, each for its own reason. The UK has given full diplomatic status to the EU's ambassador to London after having refused in the past to consider the EU as a nation. In response, British ambassadors were repeatedly shut out of meetings at the European Union. European indices recovered impressively yesterday, the AEX streaming ahead with a 245% gain, followed closely by the DAX. The Commission yesterday decided to implement a set of measures limiting Chinese access to European markets. Subsidiaries will be constrained, Chinese subsidized companies will be banned from public tenders and other corporate activities, and cooperation on financial services will be halted. On the other hand, there will apparently be no sanctions over China's activities in Hong Kong. European data has service and composite PMIs falling everywhere but in the zone itself, and the UK's 10-year note auctioned off at a premium, while UK and Irish negotiators plan to meet on the Northern Ireland problem in June. At 11 this morning, GMT, we're awaiting the Bank of England's policy meeting. They're expected to commend the UK economy for recovering so nicely, maybe slowing down asset purchases and upgrading growth expectations to 7% for 2021. Chinese markets have a lot to catch up on after a 5-day May Day celebration. So far, they're all down, save the Hang Seng, which is clinging on to a 0.1% gain. The Nikkei is up 1% and 2/3, but Australia and New Zealand are following their Chinese lead down. An impressive drop in the yuan this morning as markets return to work, traders rush to the greenback, and the nation's governors suspend all economic dialogue with Australia. You'll remember that Prime Minister Xi is mad at Australia for daring to request an investigation into the sources of the COVID pandemic. Oil strangely lost its momentum throughout the day as it awaited the EIA's report, and even so that by the time the administrator confirmed Tuesday's huge API drawdown with its own 7.99 million barrels, it could only recover half the day's losses. Bitcoin Cash was up 50% for the day Wednesday, and Bitcoin itself also continues to recover carefully as the IRS gets the go-ahead to clamp down on taxpayers who seem to be overly active in the crypto environment. Continuing our interest in gold, we're looking towards another attempt to break through support at 1790 this morning. It's the third attempt in 3 weeks, ending a double bottom over the past day. The RSI is flying, and we're moving way above the moving average, which seems to have caught on to that bullish wave. Later today, we've got a lot of data coming from the U.S., jobless claims, ISM business conditions, and of course some short-term bond auctions at 3:30. Also, China's trade balance at 2 after midnight just could have some bearing on world markets. We're already seeing some excellent quarterly results in Europe this morning, including a 20.8 increase in Société Générale revenues. Uber revenues dropped 11% year-on-year to $2.9 billion, despite a 24% increase in bookings. And Bookings.com lost half of its revenues year-on-year, landing at $1.1 billion. Digital payments strengthened Q1 results for PayPal, which processed $285 billion in payments this past Q1. It's a 50% increase on last year. EPS climbed by, wait for it, 1,200% year on year to 92 cents. And revenue was up 29% to $6 billion. Finally, GM revenues came in at $32.5 billion for the quarter, boosting EPS from 17 cents last year to $2.03 this one. Volkswagen reports today amidst its fledgling entry into the world of alternative engines, and Anheuser-Busch will report on its pandemically emerging fortunes, and then we'll have Moderna, Nintendo, AIG, and Viacom CBS. That's all for today. Tomorrow's Friday. Take care.